Hi, my name is Mark Allard, and I am an academic advisor and regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I am part of a team of immigration professionals that work at Algoma University to serve you, our international students. We have created this immigration presentation to help you understand the basic rights and responsibilities of being a temporary resident in Canada who holds a study permit. In this session, we will be covering topics that are common to nearly all international students in Canada: study permits, work eligibility, and postgraduate work permits. Let's start with the basics. Most of you likely have or have been approved for a study permit, but what is it exactly? All foreign nationals who have been admitted to Canada and do not have permanent resident status, or PR, are temporary residents. Temporary residents who wish to study in Canada in most cases are required to hold a valid study permit. For international students, this document is your permission to not only study, but live in Canada. It is extremely important for you to ensure that your study permit is valid at all times. On your study permit document, you will find your expiry date under the Additional Information section. This date is the last day you may remain in Canada legally, unless you apply to extend or change your status. If you remain in Canada after this date and have not extended your status or have not applied to extend your status, you will be illegally in Canada, and it will have a serious impact on your future in Canada. It is important to note that your study permit may or may not be issued for the full length of your program. Some study permits are only valid for as little as 4 months, even though the program is 1 year or longer. Often students get very worried about this. The good news is, as long as you're a student actively pursuing studies in Canada, the process to renew your study permit is relatively easy with a high probability of success. In order to renew your study permit, you must make application before the expiry of your current status. You should apply no later than 30 days prior to this date. We recommend that you make application between 60 and 90 days before your status expires as a best practice. While the process for extending your study permit is fairly straightforward, collecting the right documents, such as financial information from outside of Canada, can be time-consuming and can often cause delays in completing an application. It is best to give yourself more time than you think you will need. In the majority of cases, you may only apply for an extension online. In order to use the online portal, you will need to create an account through the immigration section of Canada.ca. This portal is useful when applying for extensions of your status, applying for visas or work permits, and informing Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship Canada if you move to a new designated learning institution. If you are renewing your status, please contact our immigration team at immigration@algomau.ca. We can share the application guides we have developed for you and answer any questions you may have about the application process. There is an application fee of $150 each time you apply for an extension. It is very important to note that your passport will need to be up to date. A study permit and extension of your status can only be issued up to the expiry date of your passport and not beyond. So if your passport is only valid until January 30th, 2022, January 30th, 2022 will be the latest IRCC can set the expiry of your new status. If your passport is expiring in the next year, please ensure that you renew it before beginning the extension process. Just before we move on to our next topic, there are 2 more points I should make for students who are already in Canada with a valid study permit. If you were studying at another post-secondary designated learning institution, or DLI, in Canada on a valid study permit, you will need to log in to your Canada.ca account and update your DLI to Algoma University. If you were studying at a secondary school in Canada on a valid study permit, you will need to apply for a new study permit before beginning your courses at AU. If your application has been submitted, you may begin your studies while you wait for your new study permit with post-secondary education conditions. Now we will move on to a topic that is at the top of most international students' minds: working. Study permits for our international students often include work authorization as one of the conditions. While this can be a huge opportunity for students to gain experience, make connection, and earn extra money while studying, it can be an area of risk, as there are many rules around work that students must be mindful of. It is very important to note that unless permission to work is written on your study permit, you are legally not able to work in Canada. If you choose to work illegally, you may be asked to leave Canada, and it will likely have a negative impact on any future immigration application you make. In addition to explicit work authorization, you will also need a social insurance number, or SIN, in order to be able to legally work. There are a few types of employment that have separate rules. The first we will talk about is on-campus employment. On-campus work, as the name implies, is any employment that is physically located on Algoma University's campuses. Your employer may be the university itself, but could also include any other company that is carrying out business on our campuses. For example, Morningstar Cafeteria or Tim Hortons. It is very important to note that only the Tim Hortons locations on our campuses are included in this work authorization. Other locations of Tim Hortons are included in off-campus work. In order to qualify for on-campus work, you must be enrolled in our EAPP program or in full-time academic studies. At Algoma University, full-time status includes students with a minimum course load of 12 credits per semester. There is no limitation on the number of hours you can work on campus. The next type of work we will cover is off-campus work. This type of work has more complicated regulations around the number of hours you may work, and students should pay close attention in order to avoid unintentionally working illegally. Students who are enrolled in full-time academic studies, which again is a minimum course load of 12 credits per semester, and have off-campus work authorization printed on their study permit, and are in possession of a valid study permit, are permitted to work up to 20 hours per week during periods of study and full-time during scheduled breaks. Please note that 20 hours per week is the maximum you may work in a single week, not 21 hours and not 20 hours on average over a 2-week period. This is very important. Off-campus work is not permitted for EAPP students, students in non-academic coursework, or students who do not have written authorization on their study permit. Our immigration team is often asked, when can I start working full-time? The answer to that question is only on scheduled breaks. A scheduled break is not a semester in which a student chooses not to study. It is determined by the period set out in Algoma University's academic calendar. Here's the scheduled break language in AU's academic calendar. To paraphrase, a scheduled break for a degree student will occur from the last day of the exam period of the winter semester to the first day of classes in the fall semester. Roughly speaking, this means your scheduled break will be from May through August. Certificate students have a semester-long scheduled break that occurs at the midway point of their program. For one-year certificates, the scheduled break occurs between semester 1 and semester 2, while for 2-year certificates, the scheduled break occurs between semester 2 and semester 3. All students have scheduled breaks during study week and periods between terms. One final note on off-campus work is that you must be enrolled in full-time academic coursework in the same program both before and after the scheduled break in order to work full-time. EAPP students who complete their program in one term are not eligible to work off-campus until they begin full-time academic coursework. This includes students in the bridging program who are studying in part-time academic coursework and part-time EAPP coursework. The third type of work we will talk about is co-op and work internships. If you're enrolled in the co-op program or a university-recognized internship, we highly recommend that you apply for a co-op work permit. Your authorization to work on or off campus can be used for a co-op placement or for a work internship, but a co-op work permit can help a student overcome the limitations of off-campus work authorization. For example, if a student wants to do a full-time work placement during the fall semester, they would typically only be able to work 20 hours per week because the fall term is not a scheduled break. But a co-op work permit would allow that student to work full-time in their co-op placement in the fall semester legally. Application can be made when you enroll in Co-op 01 or 0101 or in an internship course. One great thing about the co-op work permit is that it's one of the only permits that is free. The final topic we will speak about today is postgraduate work permits. In my experience, 90% of international students are interested in working in Canada after graduation, and the PGWP, as we will refer to it going forward, is the easiest way to do so. Today I will just cover the basics, as most of you are a minimum of 8 months to 4 years away from being eligible for this program, and it may change during that time. Currently, all graduates of publicly funded designated learning institutions may be eligible to apply for the PGWP program within 180 days of completing their program. In order to be eligible, graduates must have maintained full-time status throughout their studies outside of scheduled breaks. Students who have completed 8 months to 2 years of study while completing their program may be eligible for a PGWP with a validity equal to the length of their studies and program, whichever is shortest. Students who have completed a program or 2 programs that require 2 years or more of study may be eligible for a PGWP with a validity of up to 3 years. The PGWP can only be received once in your life. The most important point that I think bears repeating for new students is that you must maintain your full-time status outside of scheduled breaks, and you must not take any unscheduled breaks. The information I have covered in this presentation does not include any temporary measures made by IRCC to address COVID-19. Please visit algomau.ca for more information about COVID-19 measures. You can click on the yellow banner at the top of the screen. You can also email immigration@algomau.ca with any questions you may have. These are IRCC resources that you can access to get answers to any immigration questions that you may have. But you are always welcome to reach out to our immigration team for advice. We are highly trained experts who are here to help you and save you from a lot of unnecessary time and effort researching answers to immigration questions. Thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation, and we look forward to meeting and working with you as a member of our AU community.